And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
Want to say peace and blessings, everyone. Want to say peace and blessings, everyone. Got a special guest here tonight, and let me do a couple of adjustments here. Kind of slipping here, but want to do a couple of adjustments on my background here. But want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Got to have a special guest here, Moxy. I mean, awesome brother. I mean, great channel, and I encourage everyone go to his channel, subscribe to his channel. Moxy approved, and want to say special blessings to everyone. Sister Carol normally is my co-host, but she's not available tonight. But let's get it in, Moxy. You know how we do. You know what we're talking, how we're talking offline. It's the same live. You know, we're just going to have a laid back dialogue. I don't really like using the term interview because I don't want to make it seem so formal, you know. So but I really appreciate you and all that you are doing and continue to do. And so let's get it in, Moxy. Let's just, you know, tell the people about you.
I don't know what to say. I got a few talents. The talent that I'm sticking with the most as of the last few years is I'm a comedian. My page, my YouTube page, if you go in there to hear a lot of jokes, interestingly enough, I don't do a lot of comedy on my YouTube page. It's YouTube page is more, I guess you would say what the premises of my jokes would be, but I talk about a lot of real things in as far as the Black community and who we are as a people. I enjoy your page because maybe on the same element, I don't talk about it as much as you do, but on the same element, the premise of my whole entire page is I know who we are as a people, you know. So I speak a lot of pop culture and stuff like that, but you know, the unspoken thing is I talk about it from my perspective and who we are as a people. You know, everybody don't know that. Everybody in the church, believe it or not, that looks like us don't accept who we are as a people, you know. So that's pretty much some of the stuff that you'll get on my page. Just a little bit of buffoonery because that's what YouTube likes. They like the buffoonery, and YouTube is a business. So I don't go as much on the business model, but you know, we sometimes as YouTubers we got to do what we got to do, so we're not on live streams talking to 2-3 people. Because like my first 8 months. That's what it was. I was pretty much, doing live streams, talking to 3-4 people. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much the gist, if I can explain it, of who I am and what my page is about.
Now, you said you're a comedian, and I mean, I watch your channel, so you do a lot of, great, improv, and a lot. I mean, you have me cracking up with some of the things that you would, the analogies and how you transition from, serious, thought-provoking subjects and still be able to balance it with keeping it kind of like an encouraging light feel to it as well, even when you're dealing with something that can be technically depressing. You know what I mean? Kind of like some of the things that we see going on right now. You have a way of giving an angle on it that can, you'll show the issue, but you still have a way of lightening that load, so to speak, to your viewers. And that's what really caught my attention to your platform. So, how did you go from being a social worker to a comedian? Because that's one of the things that you stress, especially when you were dealing with the pronouns. You shared of how being a social worker and some of the training you got there really helped prepare you, equip you to dealing with different dynamics of people.
Yeah, I already like this discussion. That's a very very good topic, very good question. That's in God's plan. I came out here to Hollywood at a very young age, and I was raised in a Pentecostal household, very strict. So when I came out here to Hollywood, I came out here for acting. I've been in dozens of TV shows, films, stuff like that. That's what I came out here for. But God had other plans for me, and I ended up landing a job at an STD clinic. And I just got the job because I needed some type of work at the time. And I had a friend that was a manager up there, and he was like, I don't know if you really want to work at this spot, but you said you need work. So if you give me your application, I can get you hired. So I got hired at this STD clinic, and not really realizing, because I came from a small town, bam, hit up Hollywood. I wasn't really realizing what I was getting into as far as an STD clinic in the middle of Hollywood. So I guess it was like my first week there where it's like, wait a minute. These aren't, coming from a Pentecostal household. I'm like, wait a minute. These aren't regular folks. It's all kinds of people coming in here, like, transgender, like, openly gay folks. And, I don't want to speak about them like they're aliens or whatever, but I wasn't used to being around those folks. And it was, I was very openly uncomfortable at the time. But to shorten up this answer, that was part of God's plan, because I had to get rid of that open, how can I say this? Me being openly uncomfortable. And I don't have a problem saying that was God's plan, because whatever I do from now on in life, even speaking for God, I can speak to people from, different backgrounds and not be uncomfortable. And that works in favor of when you got to talk for God. And don't forget, it says that we're not supposed to really judge people, but judge what they do. Judge the spirit. So the spirit that the demons, they got a hold of people. So to shorten it up, that was really to prepare me for the stuff that I will be seeing in Hollywood. I've done shows with like transgenders and gay folks and stuff like that. And, I have my beliefs and, but just like everybody else, you have to work with people from different backgrounds. And when you're in entertainment, man, all the jobs you can have, you're going to work with some people from majorly different backgrounds than where I was from, as far as with being Pentecostal. So, yeah, it was just all part of God's plan. And I think it's working out. It worked out, and it's continued to work out. I wouldn't, working at that STD clinic, that was probably the best job I ever had. I learned a lot. Not only did I learn a lot, I also really got to see how different spirits work. And what I mean by that is, you could look at somebody and you can judge somebody just off of how they look, but you really don't know what you're really working with until you start talking to them and stuff like that. So I would meet people that's no different than me or you. They is working with different kind of spirits. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it really matured me in all facets of life. It definitely matured me in a safe environment too, because, you know, I was working for a clinic, so that was corporate. So God knew what he was doing. I didn't have to learn about that group of people with life lessons, if you get what I'm saying. I got to learn about it in a corporate manner, and I'm thankful for that.
Oh man, great, great. And what really caught me too when you were touching on that was when you was dealing with the video with the transgender guy with the manager at the restaurant. And it just had me cracking up, even how you know, really did the narrative on it, you know, and how the guy was really pressing, you know, trying to instigate, to stir up something. You know, what do you think about that, especially with the whole situation with David Chappelle, you know, and the whole thing, that the thing that he's dealing with, the manufactured controversy? What do you think about that?
It's a lot of things, a lot of layers to pull back right there. As far as like with the transgenders and stuff like that, you know, I just feel like, especially because the video you saw, it was a white transgender. All right. And I feel like with them, of course, I don't have no problem with working with anybody. I have my personal beliefs, you know, and, you know, I'm not God as far as you can't take people's free will away. All right. So if somebody feels like they're the opposite gender trapped in that body, that's them. They have the right to feel like that. God gave everybody a free will. But I noticed with them, especially the white transgenders, I don't really see too many black transgenders doing that, you know, not to separate. But with the white transgenders, I noticed like these last couple years, they pull their phone out and it's almost like they looking for trouble. Like they looking to capture some type of stuff. And I feel like us as a community, when we video record the stuff that we're going through, we're recording it for our lives. Like, you know, this cop here is trying to arrest me. I ain't do nothing, so I need to record this, you know, or, you know, this lady that I stayed in an apartment building with, she's asking me why am I staying here. She's calling the cops and I ain't do anything. That's when we end up recording. A lot of times when I see them recording, it's like they're running up on somebody, coming to somebody's place of business, and it's like, oh, okay, I see you got a Straight Lives Matter flag. I want to know, what do you have to say about that and how you feel about me? Because, you know, I'm a her and stuff. And it's like they're looking for something, you know, and just my opinion, I feel like white people, because this is the video you saw, that was a white transgender. But I feel like white people, period, which kind of ties into this whole Dave Chappelle thing. What's happening now is they're trying to take the white LGBTQ and make them minorities. And me personally, I won't ever see it like that because, you know, I guess you would say a minority. To me, that's somebody who has to live with something that is being criticized in society they live in, and they can't change it. So I think the only white people that can be considered that, in my opinion, are disabled white people and little people. I don't want to say the M word, you know, very small little people, because, you know, I've dealt with somebody that was a little person, and that M word is like what the N word is to us. All right. So I'll just say little person. So when you white LGBTQ, they try to label themselves as minority. And that's what that whole thing with Dave Chappelle's special is. They're trying to say Dave Chappelle was punching down. That's why they were able to come at him with all that criticism. And I just don't agree with it, you know, and there's certain comedy rooms and stuff like that that I may not ever be able to do because I've said stuff like this in a joke manner or something like that. And as much as I love what Dave Chappelle did, I think he kind of put an ironclad for the rest of us. Like I'll probably never be able to get anywhere near Dave Chappelle money because I don't want to tell Disneyland jokes. He's at a spot now where he's so well known, he can tell those kind of jokes. And I do appreciate him for getting those type jokes out there. But people such as myself and other talented people that speak their mind, they're going to see us coming from miles away. and they gonna put an ironclad on there. That's why I'm spending a lot more time on YouTube, because I didn't get on YouTube and I didn't get into comedy to talk about Disneyland, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much what it is. And like I said, I appreciate Dave Chappelle's special. It wasn't as great as his other specials because he had a certain plan for that special. He had a message that he wanted to get out and a group of people that he wanted to challenge. And he just wanted to get his thoughts out. And I'm really appreciative of it. But I tell you what, we're going to a totalitarian, I believe that's how you say it, totalitarian system, because when they start saying you can't even make jokes about stuff, it's getting scary. The control level is getting scary. And as a person that does shows with transgender and LGBTQ folks, they do jokes about everybody. They do jokes about black people. They do jokes about black women. They do jokes about everybody. So it's like very soon, you know, y'all might not see it, but I know in the backstage of this game, very soon, a lot of these comics and stars are going to be pushing out. I want to see how the people accept them, because the way I feel about it is, hey, if we can't tell jokes about this group of people, I don't want to hear you tell no jokes about us. I don't want to hear no jokes about black men from a transgender. I think that's only fair. I think that's only fair, you know, since we're not allowed to make jokes about people out of our demographic. I don't think those people in those demographics should be allowed to make jokes too. And I'm not going to lie to you, that it's going to be a horrible comedy scene in the near future, almost killing, the craft. I think is going to suffer immensely in this next decade.
Well, you hit it on the nail too. What's his name? Bayard Rustin is from the civil rights movement that was pivotal with coming up with the jargon, the buzzwords. And so really, when we look at the civil rights movement and what he inserted into the skeleton of this whole movement, he actually set up the framework for where we are now. This is why it's easy for many within the gay and lesbian community use the term civil rights, because the words are there within the frameworks, the skeleton of what they use as the foundation to build up that movement. And you hit it right on the nail. I mean, you and I, we can't change who we are. Even if we bleached our skin, you still going to see my features. Even if I bleach my hair, you still going to see the texture of my hair. Whereas though they can change, they can hide. If they don't tell you who they are, most cases you won't know. You know what I mean? And so kind of like the video that you shared with the guy, and I almost choked because I was on my way to work watching your video. And when the part where the guy was like, what do you mean? Can't you tell? Look at me, something to that effect. And when he put the camera on him, I was like, head like this wide, big knuckles with tiny. I was like, wow, so it just, we can't hide, what we, our appearance, and we can't mask what we've had gone through as a people. So that was, like I said, that video was very thought-provoking, and especially when you shared about your experience of being a social worker, and that being very instrumental to helping you being able to deal with different people in all walks of life, regardless of whatever demons they may be dealing with, because as a social worker, you got to see some of everything. And you know what I mean? You really don't have an option of picking and choosing. You got to deal with whatever is in front of you, whatever files and so forth. So that, that was some very insightful information you shared there. And so how did you go from social worker, Pentecostal, or what they say in the church, PK kid, you're right, to from the PK kid, because I was in Pentecostal for a little bit. I was in Kojic, Church of God in Christ, right, for almost 10 years. So I know about the Pentecostal movement. So how do you go from the Pentecostal movement, social work, to being a comedian? How did that happen?
Well, in the back of my mind, I always was a comedian. I got class clown in high school. I didn't go directly from high school to doing comedy because, I was raised in the 90s and the 2000s, and I wanted to be a thug. That era, that spell and that time of my life was casted over me, the thug spell. So, you know, I always, at that time I wanted to do rap, but it was a period where I don't know, I was too nervous to ever put rap out there, because don't forget, I grew up a Pentecostal kid, and even as a young kid, I knew if I put this out there and any of this stuff gains any kind of traction, and the stuff that I'm talking about, I'm gonna have to constantly be repenting for this. I was uncomfortable with that kind of stuff, so it took a while, but at the end of the day, it came to a point where God really pushed it on me. Actually, I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with this guy, but it's a guy named David Talbert. He's a playwright. He's like maybe a lesser known Tyler Perry. He comes from that genre. He has a lot of major movies out there. And I did a play with him. I was in a theatrical play that he directed, and he told me, we went on tour for about a year. He told me in the middle of that tour, he was like, after this tour is over, you need to go and do comedy. I know in your mind, you know, you're a rapper, actor, blah, 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 blah. But he was like, no, you're a comedian, you know? So, and I already knew that because I had class clown in high school. So it was like, you know, when this tour is over, I was telling myself, I'm going to get into comedy. And getting to know the structure basis of comedy, I started falling in love with it, because then it was one thing that I figured out. And it was like, man, there's really not too much I can say, I can even teach. All I have to do is I have to make people laugh. And that's why I brought up Dave Chappelle earlier, me appreciating him. But I don't think did it on purpose, but he almost lit a path behind him, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the reason why I really started to love it and I got into it, and like even now, like it's a poor man's game, and I have several streams of income and I'm making money, and I get a lot of jealousy from other comics, because it's like, okay, you know, you're making this amount of money a year, and other comics know it, but it's like you're out here with us every other day. They don't really see that a lot. There's comics that make money, but they're real lazy. You don't see them that much, and most of all, when they get on stage, they're not as funny as the others, because they're, you know, during the day they're investing, or during the day they're doing doctor work. They're taking out a kidney during the day. Then they'll go and do jokes, and they're really not that funny because they're making $300,000 during the day, and there's no need to really be funny. But I happen to be the rarity where, you know, I'm making the Most High has blessed me to make a good portion of money outside of comedy, but then I go on stage and a lot of these cats can't follow me. So, you know, I'm just going to say it was all part of God's plan. And like the social work stuff was God's way of me going into the belly of the beast and knowing how to deal with these people without giving up myself. Because I could have gotten trapped by some of these traps that they lay out for these young males. Right now, today, as I talk to you today, me being here in Hollywood, right in the middle of Hollywood right now. I stay in New York City. I'm in the middle of Hollywood right now. There's somebody that got off the Greyhound bus today in this city that really, they think they know, they ready for the city, but they, in New York too, but we gonna talk about Hollywood since I'm here. They think they really know and really ready for this city, but they not. And I've seen some sad stories, Rich. I've seen people that got off that Greyhound bus around the same time that I did out here. And then, you know, you might go 5-6 years not seeing them. And then like, it was one guy, you know, that I used to do music with, I used to rap with, and I didn't see him for a long time. And I'm going to say maybe about 3 years ago, right before I moved to New York City, I was at a gas station and I saw him there and he had a dress on. He was working. He was working up there. And wow. In fact, I'll say his stage name because I don't even know it matters. I know he ain't performing nowhere now. He probably performing a different type of way, if you get what I'm saying. But
yeah, wow.
I was like, Peso, is that you?
Wow.
And he was like, yeah, I know you and I saw you. I ain't want to say nothing. And it's like, it hurt my heart to see him like that. And the thing that where when I got in the car, I had to pray to the Most High. And it's just like, thank you for protecting me. Thank you for protecting me because, you know, I remember years back when I did a couple songs with him it was stuff going on, but me and my small mind, I couldn't recognize what was in front of me because this guy had the latest Benz at the but nowhere to stay. And I don't even think that was his Benz. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's just that life didn't consume him yet. At some point, that life consumed him. And I just thank the Most High for, I probably ain't gonna never have the amount of money that Kevin Hart has. I'm okay. You see what I'm saying? Or the amount of money that Dave Chappelle has. I'm okay, you know, because I saw a lot of things in Hollywood. And one of the misnomers is that you can't do any business in Hollywood if you're not a certain type of way. That is a lie. You can't go to the top. There's certain doors that you can't go past, but you can do little itty bits of business with Hollywood. And if you got a following, one thing that runs Hollywood more than anything is money. They'll let a lot of stuff go for money, but you know, the inner workings of it, yeah, I'm not capable of some of the inner workings of that stuff. So I have to be able to accept whatever I can get from it. I've already got in my mind, I'm not capable of this, that, and the fourth. All right, you know, so if that means I can only make $10,000 a year off of performing, then that's just what I'm just gonna have to deal with. But I'm not willing to sacrifice my flesh for you know, these little gifts that you know, it may seem like it's a big deal, like, you know, these celebrities and stuff like that. It may seem like that's the life that we all should want to live, but just, I don't know if y'all even know what a solar flare is. Just one solar flare can hit here, and then there ain't no such thing as no celebrity at that time. You know, just something that's that right. Fast, you know? So it's like, if I'm going to build up some type of reputation and some type of resume, you know, the Bible is correct. The only stuff that's going to last eternity is the work you do for God. I saw that phase 4. All this other stuff, you know, you could be a celebrity, say the wrong thing, or a tape come out about you. Everything that you work hard for and all that just get snatched from you. Then you walk out in the street, people call you all kind of names. I've seen it. So I just thank the Most High for protecting me from a lot of stuff.
Wow. Powerful, man. Powerful. And that's, you know, encouraging to those that want to do what you do. And matter of fact, speaking of that, can you just share with the people, because I know sometimes you can make things look so easy that many think that, hey, you know what, I could do what Moxy do. If he could do that, I could do it. What are some of the challenges that you had to deal with? For example, like your first stand-up, you know, or when someone come up to you and say, hey, tell me a joke. You know, what were some of the challenges that you had to, because I know that
that one, they tell me the joke one. I don't know. It's probably people out there that hate me now from asking that question, man. Because that's like, and just the fact that you say that, you know, that's a question that we get asked a lot. You're not supposed to ask. Is that tell me a joke one? I will say, because I'm an actor too, and I have a lot of credits with acting. That's a good question you asked. First, I'll just answer this and say that Hollywood, one of the biggest things that I was upset with when I got to Hollywood and found out about is this is not a meritocracy. Your talent only matters a small portion. What matters out here is the people you know and what you do for the people you know. So to answer your question, one of the biggest sacrifices, even now, is still sort of a sacrifice. I wouldn't use that word now, but I'm going to say for a decade, I sacrificed pretty much what the Bible will speak of as a frugal life. I was not looking for no wife because it's certain goals that I wanted to reach before I even looked at that. I met a lot of good women that we could have done something, but it's like, in my mind at that time, it's like, well, if I get you pregnant, and I'm not saying this is bad, but it's like, you know, in fact, it is bad that I sacrificed that in a lot of ways. It's like, okay, I can get this woman pregnant or get married to this woman, but if I do that, it's going to slow this down in my career. So I went a decade pretty much sleeping on people's couches and couch surfing, all for a dream and a plan I had. And I wouldn't take any of that stuff back because I found out a lot had bad credit. It made me have to fix my credit. But I'm going to say what I sacrificed the most that hurt me probably was I sacrificed like that American dream, have a wife and have some kids and stuff like that. I had to sacrifice that. And I sacrificed all of that just to one day come to conclusion, what I really wanted ain't what I really wanted. What I thought I really wanted is not what I really wanted. You get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
When I saw, as I started getting deeper into Hollywood and seeing some stuff, like even earlier today, I got invited to a party. And it was like, when I saw some of the stuff that you see at these parties and stuff like that, it was like, man, I don't want this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I thought I did, but if it take all of this, man, I'm good. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna say the biggest thing I had to sacrifice is just that family life that at some point, even as a man, women yearn for it before we do. They yearn for it before we do. But even as a man, at some point, you're gonna have a natural tendency to want to start a family. And I fought back against that because I wanted A, B, and C. You know, I wanted to be on this TV show. I wanted to get in this commercial. So I had to sacrifice like having a family and stuff like that, you know.
Well, the good thing about it is you're calculated and you're counting the cost. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's too late, but at least you did it in a way that is not at the expense of maybe, let's just say, having a challenging situation, even more challenging or challenge, so to speak, by having a family attached to that. You know what I mean? Like when you're going through the process of trying to develop yourself, you know, as far as your craft, that could be an additional, how can I put it, an additional weight per se, because now you have to tend to your family. You know, kind of what Paul said in the scriptures. He said, hey, if I can have it my way, I'd rather that everyone stay single. So that way you don't have that extra extra responsibility, that extra weight that you have to adhere to, that can kind of take you away from your overall focus on what you're trying to accomplish. So I just look at it like, you know, the decision that you made was well calculated. And what if you would have had all of that? Where would you be right now? You know what I mean? So, you know, we never know. You know, I mean, even let's just say a bad experience, where would you be if you had not, you know, slept on that couch? You know what I mean? We call it this, you know, back in the day, we call it starving artists. You know what I mean? You sleeping on the chairs. Actually, you sleeping in the subway station. You sleeping in a bus station. That's where you actually getting your rest. You know, because I used to be out there as well, but not in the comedy area. But I do know what you know, where you are. You know, when you talk about sleeping on the chairs and, you know, someone else's home and all of that. So you just never know where you could be had you made other decisions. We may not even be having this conversation right now had you made different choices. You know,
that's a fact. Powerful. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. This is you.
My last birthday, the last two birthdays I've had, surprisingly enough to myself, I broke down crying. My last two birthdays, and I broke down crying to the Most High. And I just have to tell him sometimes, thank you. Because I came from a Pentecostal. I think I can. You know, I grew up as an MP child, a missionary kid, an MK. And any of y'all that know the MK and the PK thing,
oh yeah,
you already know. So all my brothers, I'm the only one who I ain't gonna say all that, but I'm the only one who don't have a history of violence with the state of New York. All right, of my brothers, I'm the only one with that. You know what I mean? So it was a Pentecostal household, but you know, it was a lot of stuff that it wasn't really a representation of what a Christian household should be. So I say that to say that there's times where I sit down, especially in my birthday, and I break down and I just thank the Most High, because it's like I was young, I was a kid, and you kept me, the Most High. I've been in a lot of situations where I didn't realize the kind of situation I was in, where if God didn't protect me, who knows what have happened. Just my route of couch surfing and stuff like that. I've lived in Watts. I've lived in Compton. I've lived in Pacoima, North Hollywood. They gentrifying North Hollywood, so it ain't as bad as it used to be.
Yeah.
North Hollywood, Crown Heights, Flatbush, Decatur. I stayed in Decatur. So I've stayed in some very violent neighborhoods, and the Most High kept me. I knew Nipsey Hussle. I don't have no reason to lie about somebody. God bless the dead. But I knew Nipsey Hussle before Nipsey Hussle was the Nipsey Hussle we know of. When I ran with Nipsey Hussle, he was a flat out gangbanger. So it's like I did business with gangs, and somebody took my top off. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So the most High has blessed me. I give it all up to him, because if the devil would have had his way in some of the situations that I was in, who knows what I would be right now. So he definitely.
You gonna make me pull out the B3 organ, because you preaching right now. You're gonna have me do my chord progressions up in here. But no, you talking good though. Awesome testimony.
No, I appreciate it. And even now, this kind of what you reminded me now, like me saying this, it does kind of feel like the Sunday mornings when the old person go up and give their testimony of God.
That's right.
I love the Lord. I kind of, I might have to go to church very soon just to hear one of those testimonies. You know what I mean? To hear the old, I remember growing up in the Pentecostal churches, the old ladies will give glory to God for taking something that they brought back to the store and having them give them their refund. Like, I didn't think I deserved a refund, but you know what I mean? It could be something that small. And they'd be like, well, God, it was in God's plan. And I went back to Macy's and I gave them the skirt. And Lord knows I had worn it one time. And I told them I wore it one time, but they still gave me the money back. You know what I mean? Them Pentecostal, man.
But what about that one? Like, the devil tried to kill me. You always had that one.
Right. I don't want to hate on nobody with those kind of testimonies, but sometimes I be hearing those testimonies and be like, yeah, God did save you, but you made a bad decision right here. God had to save you from yourself. That wasn't quite the devil at that time. Like, you put yourself in a bad situation. Oh man, you making me laugh, man.
So how was it, like, your first stand-up? You know what I mean? How was it? Do you remember your first stand? I'm sure you do, but how was it? Was it what you expected, or how was it? If you want to just kind of walk us through that your first stand-up, that you were privy to doing.
That's a good question. I knew probably about a year before I started doing stand-up that I was going to do it. And it just took God having to push me, because like I said, at that time I was really on some rap stuff, and it was like, I don't want to do stand-up now because that's weak. But what started happening is like, yeah, but I don't even like rapping like this anymore. You know what I mean? So what we gonna do? Like, this is me talking to myself. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take a class. And any of y'all out there that ever decide you want to get into stand-up, I'm going to say the best way to do it is to take a class, a cheap class. Don't take one of these classes that's $500 to $1,000. It don't take too much to learn how to write jokes, but it's best to take a class, because at the end of the class, a good class, they're going to give you a showcase at a comedy club. So my first time ever performing was at the Hollywood Improv. And what they do is Hollywood Improv, they give out these classes sometimes. And the graduation is you get to perform at the Hollywood Improv. You're still a new comic, so they cover up the sign. All right. You know what I mean? They cover up the sign, but you get to perform at the Hollywood Improv. And my first set was at the Hollywood Improv. I was very nervous. I knew I was the funniest in the class. And I knew that because right before I went up, the guy that taught the class had all these like personal cameras. He had like 2 cameramen, and like they didn't really do the other comics like that. But with me, they had the cameras on. What did you get out of this class? And blah, 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 blah. So I saw it right away that, okay, this guy wants my endorsement. So later on, if I do A, B, and C, he can be like, oh, I'm the one that taught blah, 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 you know? So I did a little interview on the class, and then I went up and performed at the Hollywood Improv. And one thing about the Hollywood Improv is it's a back wall that got all the great comics up there. And it was one of the most nerve-wracking times I ever had in my life. My hands, it was like you could almost see sweat dripping off my hands before I went up there. And as soon as I said the first word, all the nervousness just left. And, you know, I started getting them laughs. And it's like when I looked at that back wall with all the murals of all those great comics, it's like the murals started talking to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like is you ready for this? Do you understand that this business is a lot of jealousy? You're going to end up hating it. I see you going to end up quitting in a couple years. But then I can hear it. I can hear it talking to me. You know what I mean? And it was almost like these murals were talking to me during my set on some, no, this ain't for you. You're going to quit. But then at the end, I could feel the murals like, yeah, you one of us. I felt it through that whole set. It was a 7-minute set. I'm never going to forget about it. Those jokes, I don't really tell them anymore. And the reason why I don't tell them anymore, and I kid you not, is that bigger comics than me took my first set that was 7 minutes. And in one way or another, they took them jokes for their own to the point where I could not even claim them anymore. And that happens a lot in this industry. And it's like, I know how to handle that now. But at that time, you know, I was running up on cats much bigger than me. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the stuff they want. That's the stuff they want. When they know you new and you got some good jokes, they almost do it on purpose. And it's like, well, they know it's like chess. They know the game better than you. So it's like, okay, I'm gonna take this new comics. You know, I'm writing for this show or that show. I'm gonna take this new comics joke. So then if we respond this way, ain't nobody gonna like him, even though that's his work I took. And these people, they don't care. They don't care. You know, and I say I'm proud to not be in some of the same rooms as these comics, because you also got to look at it like this. If you find yourself constantly in the same room as these other people, for me, that's almost a sign of when this is all done, you're going to go to where they going. I don't want to go to where they going. So, yeah, we could be in some of the same rooms here and there, but I'm not mad at all that I'm not constantly in the same rooms as these guys, because I shouldn't be. See what I'm saying? Because I'm not willing to steal and do all that and lead people down the wrong way, because you only get one of these lives. You know, I know something is coming up after this that's based on what you do in this one, and it's just not worth it to at the cost of other people try to elevate myself. I'm not one of those 48 laws of power. I do know about that book, but I'm not one of those 48 laws of power type guy where it's like, I'm gonna make this guy slip up or make this guy take this bait so I can elevate myself. That is demonic. I don't want no parts of that. I don't want no parts of that. Where I get, that's where I get at. And it's from the help of the Most High. I'm not about that dragging somebody down or something like that, or setting somebody up or taking somebody's idea and they fighting for the idea, though I stole it from them. That's just not my style. I'll take what I can get by doing it the most righteous way possible. And I just want to say, shout out to Vara. She came over here. Thank you, Vara. I appreciate it. You know, Vara, part of the Moxy mob. I appreciate it. You know, but yeah, just want to put that out there.
Yeah, just put it up on the screen so everyone can see her. Let me put it back up.
Oh no, it's all good. I had to make sure that I let her know. I love Vara. That's my folks. That's my folks.
Man, that's good. That's good. And even listening to some of the things you shared about how some of your material was stolen, it's similar to the music industry, especially if you're into production, you know, and I'm not going to mention any names of some of the experiences that I've had and how I had work stolen. You know, one of the schemes, and I can name some of the people that done that, but not trying to shift the attention on me, but they will have you come and, you know, bring your equipment and you go into the studio with them and you start working on what they call scratch tracks, and, you know, and they secretly recording the entire session without you knowing. So what they're doing is taking whatever sound that you bring up in there, and what many people don't know is that whatever's recorded in that studio technically belongs to the studio. You know what I mean? So many don't, especially if they don't have their stuff protected before they go in there. You know, if they go there and they just creating everything within there, that's the studio material. And so I've gotten burnt a few times, and I can name some other friends of mine's. Matter of fact, one of them named Chris, he produced, did the whole, he did the music for Case, Before I Let Go. I mean, not Before I Let Go, Happily Ever After. He actually wrote that, you know, did the music and everything. But he got robbed from some other producers with that same scheme. So it sounds similar, you know, to what you shared, how the popular comedians that have more, as you said, at a certain level, a bigger following, kind of took your material, you know, and kind of, you know, incorporated it into their stuff. You know, it sounds similar to the music industry.
Rich, you could have went on for another 20 minutes and I wouldn't have stopped you, and you ain't putting it on you, because here's the thing, that because me and you connecting on this topic right here that other people don't understand. People don't really get how frustrating it is when the Most High gives you an idea, because don't forget the word says we hear many voices. All right. So a lot of these ideas come from somewhere else, and they decide to use you as that portal. And you actually take that, put your talent and put something together, and somebody as a higher level takes it from you, don't do nothing to it, and presents it as their own. You see your stuff on TV, you know, you as far as your work, hearing it on the radio, and you know, this is mine. And somebody else is captivating off of it. And when you tell people that, and they're not in the industry, don't know about it, you sound crazy to them. And the really the only times where you can really talk like this is when you're talking to somebody else that went through it. It's almost like we need a therapy group session together. It is really like that, because it is very, very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. So trust me, you could have talked for another 20 minutes and you would have been edifying me, because I know how this game is, and I know how they're thieves, and they got to be thieves, because they don't, Hollywood is not a meritocracy. It don't go off the talent, but they got to keep it going off of some kind of talent. They can't have it. It's like they may have a protocol where, okay, for y'all to get in and do this particular show, you know, excuse my words here, but this particular casting director needs fellatio. Okay, so it's like they can't. It's like when they do it like that, it's not going to be a lot of talent coming to them. It's going to be people that are willing to sacrifice their bodies coming to them. So what they like to do is they like to get these people that's willing to sacrifice their body, and they like to take something from somebody else that's not willing to do that and give it to them. You see what I'm saying? Like I got bigger comics that I don't even want to mention the name, that some of y'all know about, and I know what they've done in the back room. And for me, it kind of can sound frustrating and a little bit bitter and angry, because it's like, I know what you did in the back room. You gave another male top, and then you went and you took my work. You know what I mean? And that could be very frustrating. And it ain't too many people you could talk to that you don't sound crazy, that'll really understand you, other than other artists that get it. And I just want to put this out there, because I hear a lot of people that think, when you hear people on YouTube complaining about this, they think that these people, oh, you just worried about somebody else. And no, it's the real thing, because even on YouTube this happens. It's like a wild, wild west on YouTube.
That's
to where
right.
It's like you have a lot of bigger creators hearing smaller channels say certain stuff, and they just take what they're saying and they put it to their group and don't give the smaller channel no kind of shout out or nothing, you know. And YouTube is like that. And it's like, for those of y'all that don't understand, as an artist, you won't be able to ever make a living if you're cool with everybody taking your work and taking your ideas. You won't ever be able to make a living, because I've heard other YouTubers dog people out for being mad about their ideas being stolen. And it's like, I don't know what kind of person. It ain't no different than having some of your work just stolen. You know, right. And it's like, what kind of, if we're gonna talk about men and masculinity, what kind of man or masculine man is gonna be cool with somebody just taking something from them and not giving them no type of shout out? I mean, they stole a black woman's idea about the Matrix. That's and
right.
The Terminator. They took
that's
her
right.
idea and made billions off of it. You
And
see what I'm saying?
perverted, and also perverted her idea too, because when you think about the Matrix, the two guys that produced the movie per se, they from the pronoun community. Now they're out as women. They're saying that their whole idea for the Matrix was a woman trapped in a man's body trying to come out. And they said that's the whole overall theme of what, to them, the message that they're trying to give with the Matrix. But to your point, yeah, you hit it right on the nail.
You brought up a good you brought up a good topic with that, because that's exactly what we're talking about. Here's a woman that just wrote a book that ain't got no parts of that Hollywood stuff, but they rather just take it and put in this movie all kinds of people who know God knows what they've done behind closed doors, and just put them all in it. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, some of this you got to take with a grain of salt, because don't forget, this is the devil's playground, and you know, we have a mighty God, and for whatever reason, him and Lucifer have they little agreements. I'm pretty sure you know this. The Bible is pretty much a spiritual legal binding book. It talks about the legalities in there. So whatever, you know, he pushed Satan, Satan has his own little playground. So the Most High is over everything, but Satan's playground is Satan's playground. That's why I'm very careful in there, because that's his domain. You know, he was the angel entertainment. All right. So I understand what I'm in, and that's why I'm saying the life that I have to live and I have to go through, I have my lines for that. And what I can get out of it, I can get I accept getting out of it. It ain't gonna be where these other guys are at, because this is the devil's playground, and I'm not gonna play his game, you know. So we pretty much capitalized on that. They stole somebody's work and put a lot of you know, those pronouns in it.
Yeah,
pronouns in it. So
yeah, man, that great comments, man. And what I want to do too, I'm gonna show a video clip, because you touched on identity, and just want to get your thoughts about a couple of these clips. I'm just gonna play one from Eddie Griffin. Remember, I said share with you, it's like quite a few entertainers are coming out with expressing who we are, you know, as far as the people of the book. So I'll just play a couple of clips, and if you want to expound on it, feel free to do so.
No problem. Okay.
Here we go.
That's why you called Israel. Is it real? No, it's not. How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? How did we leave there black and come back white? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me? Can somebody answer that for me?
I'm telling you in history about Israel and Egypt and Africa, and they act like them is whole different places. I mean, if I told you Atlanta and Florida was in the South, I'm telling the truth, right? That's the same distance between Israel, Egypt, and Africa. Israel, Egypt, and Africa. Israel, Egypt, and Africa. If I told you Atlanta and Florida was in the South, I'm telling the truth, right? That's the same distance between Israel, Egypt, and Africa. Every black person that ain't Muslim is Christian. As far as our family go back. Guess what they don't tell us? How the fuck did all our black families become Christian overnight? How come they don't never tell you what the fuck we stopped doing so we could start doing this? So we could start doing this. So we could start doing this.
They say, go see the African History Museum. Why do they start when the boats came? Why don't they start with the drums?
When we was kings.
No, they don't want it, but we are kings. Mm-hmm. But the 400 years doesn't have to deal with slavery. It has to deal with the Bible. It has to deal with us being disobedient to God. us as 12 tribes of Judah, as a member of the Hebrew people, we are still inside of our genocide. 50% of all black deaths a year is abortion.
Those are you had some good clips, very good clips. Those both are blacklist topics. Both of them. Those that's a blacklist topic.
Well,
right
hey, I don't want to put you in a compromising position, though. You know what I mean?
No, I wasn't saying that like I don't want to comment on. I didn't come on YouTube or any of this to talk about Disney. I just want to say that that's a belief I have. I'm not, and they come off like that's anti-Semitic, and it's like I don't even know how that's anti-Semitic because you're not hating on the idea of Jews. You're just saying that I think it's something different. I'm gonna tell you something, man. One of my best friends is a white Jewish guy, and he knows how I feel. I don't keep this a secret from him. I'm not. A lot of stuff has been mixed up. Like what Eddie Griffin said, that's what the president of Egypt said at that time. Is the reason
That's
why
right.
people don't like Israel is
What's
that
his name? Nasir.
right? He said, I believe he said this in the 60s or I believe it was the 70s. He said this.
It was like in the 50s.
50, yeah.
It was for Time. He was doing a Time magazine interview. Yeah, it was like the 50s when he said that.
Yeah, and I've I made a joke the other day. I told my friend, because I'm gonna tell you what, the younger ones, they know something is up. Because at those times, there was really no white people in that area other than Rome and Greece. There was no white people over there. And they're even starting to question what it is, but it's like a privilege thing, and they hinge on. I don't want to go too deep in this topic because this is your channel, and you can start talking. That algorithm is strong. They pick up,
I definitely understand.
That algorithm is strong. I'm just gonna say that I told my boy the other day because I know the word, and what the simple thing it comes down to is that community, the Jewish community, all the nations was birthed out of that community. So I told my boy the other day, hey man, when did y'all stop giving birth to black kids? When did y'all stop giving birth to colored kids? Because in our community, we still give birth to white kids. You know what I mean? I asked them, all the nations came from y'all, and God don't ever change. God don't ever change. And even look at Michael Jackson. I don't think those kids is his, but even Michael Jackson could have did all that. And if he had some real kids, they would have his color. You know what I mean? So it's like, and you can, any of y'all can look this up. There are black couples once a year, at least that's being covered by the media. There are black couples that give birth to white kids still to this day. They impossible for them to give birth to us. So for those of y'all listening, I'm not going to tell you to get in these conversations with these folks, but if you ever get in a conversation with one of them and they try to talk down to you, because one thing that I notice is those group of people know who we are. They know who we are.
That's right.
NAACP, black colleges, Black Lives Matter, they were all started up by white Jews. And I even got a joke that says, why don't we start up?
Let me do this right here, man. I got to give you a 3-piece on, give a 3-piece for, I got a little thing here when you hit some truth right there. So let's give a 3-piece for all those that are hoarding this information that you're sharing. Let me just give a quick 3-piece right here because you hit some, you hit it right on the nail. Here's a 3-piece.
That's dope, man. That is dope. That is dope. You saying I'm cooking, huh? All right, I'm glad.
Man, you just gave a 3-piece right there, man.
Yeah, I'm all right. So I'm cooking. So I don't. It's a very frustrating thing, but I'm gonna say, God recently been working with me on this to where it's like, basically him coming at me where it's like, don't be afraid to put this message out, but also know at the end of the day, this is a job that I got to do. That it ain't for you. Because one thing I'm going to say that's going to be different in our generation, because a lot of people don't realize that okay, we have the Bible, right? But they don't realize that what we doing now is going to be documented. And what's going on now, it's already in the Bible. We in the last days. So, you know, Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, he says, I'm going to come back and show y'all the day from the synagogue. I'm going to do that. So it's like, I don't want to get caught up into, you know, people ask me and stuff like that, what I feel. I'm going to always be honest about how I feel. But I don't want to get caught up into trying to do his job, because don't forget, this is something that the devil set up, you know, and he created the devil. The devil is the second most powerful entity outside of God. So it's like, when you talk like that, you going straight up against the devil. All right. You know, and don't forget that he's powerful. He ain't more powerful than the Most High. You know what I mean? But when I read Revelations 2:9 and 3:9, that he basically says, I know who these folks are. And don't worry, I'm going to show, you know, who these folks really are. It's nothing wrong with us going out there and teaching people and stuff like that. But even with me, myself, I feel like it's a line on that I can't pass. Because even if I really thought that I can pass that line, you're going into God tier, because he said, I'm going to be the one that's going to do that. You get what I'm saying? Because they got a powerful hold on stuff. They have a very powerful hold on stuff. And if you really want to get down to why a lot of, you know, black males are getting killed by the cops, and why a lot of this racism stuff going on, it's because how our image is being shown in Hollywood. Every time you turn on the TV, like, it's something negative being connected with us half the time, you know? So it's like, whenever you got somebody with a gun and they see somebody like me or you, and they done spend all day watching movies with me and you, with people that look like me and you, and what they doing, they in there robbing somebody, I shoot you, you know what I mean? And it's like, they seeing all this stuff, and that stuff is propaganda. Of course, when they roll up on us in real life, and, you know, if we got a powerful voice or something like that, they've been conditioned to be afraid right away. So, you know, I just want to say that it's a topic. I think World War, a lot of people, I don't think like this, but I think this topic is what World War III is going to kind of get out of control. It ain't going to start on this topic on World War III, but I feel like World War III at some point going to get out of control off of this topic, you know? So, well, you know, the last day is one of the campaigns of the last day is this topic here, you know?
Well, you know, what's interesting too, with what you touched on Revelations 2:9 and also Revelation 3:9. And so I got to give another animation here, because you just gave a knockout, and I'm gonna touch your stuff real quick, but let me show the knockout that you just put out there.
It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over!
Had to put a little Zab Judah out there, right?
Yeah. Hey, that's funny. I just ran into Zab Judah not too long ago.
Oh man, I don't want her to get mad at this. No.
He ain't gonna see this.
But yeah, what you touched on, what's interesting is when you read Exodus about Moses, the Most High gave Moses two signs. He gave him the staff, right? And what many don't understand and know, that the staff was his identity. Because when you go into the text, when you study about Judah, one of the sons of Jacob, for a moment of pleasure, he gave up his staff, his rings, and his bracelets that represents his identity, right? And so we see even David, when David went up against Goliath, Saul wanted to give him all this heavy equipment, and David's like, look, this is not me. So What did he do? He took his shepherd's bag, his 5 smooth stones, and his sling. So all the things that identified him as being who he is. So with Moses, that staff was representing his identity, right? Because he had to use that as a sign. But the second sign that he gave him was his skin complexion. He said, take your hand, right? Put it inside your garment. And when you pull it out, it's going to look white as snow. Now, you know, if it was nothing but Caucasians, you know, it wouldn't stand out. You know, it's saying that non-melanated to even more non-melanated, no pigmentation, right. You know, so we see that there. And then in Revelation chapter 1, we see the same thing. The sign is skin complexion, the appearance of the Messiah. So just to your point, that we're living in a time that identity is coming to the forefront, because one of the problems that the church is having now is because when it came to us, we can never identify with who we are there, because everything was completely whitewashed. So it's like, where do we fit in the Bible per se? And they would default to Canaan, right, being cursed. Ham, the son of Canaan, who was cursed, and they'll poorly teach it as if it was a skin complexion thing and servitude. So you hit it right on the nail. You hit it right on the nail.
I'm gonna ask you this, and this is a little risk because we ain't never talk about this in our personal conversations. But I'm just gonna say, and this what I'm about to say is a how can I say this? It's a controversial topic in the church. Have you heard and are you familiar of the original Bible?
When you say original Bible, because you have the
1619.
All right, the KJV, yeah.
With the book of, it has a book of Simon in that.
When you start dealing with you're dealing with the Apocrypha, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a couple books that Constantine had taken out of the Bible that in the original Bible, 1619 is in there. And one of them is the book of Simon. And I say it's controversial because there's a lot of Christians that if it's not the King James book, they just don't respect it. And they don't even know the whole history of King James. But I get that, because even myself, even to this day, I question, should I even be paying attention to these other books? But a lot of these other books are even mentioned in the Bible. Like it's a few books that's mentioned in the Bible that's not in the Bible. And I'm saying that to say that in the book of Simon, it actually has a verse there where it says that the face of Jesus shall be washed white. And, so I don't want to go too deep into that because I haven't even read the full original Bible. But there was a moment where I had ran into some Israelites and, they showed me some things. I, on a personal level, I'm not a Hebrew Israelite. I don't agree with the way they run their organization, and stuff like that. I don't agree with a lot of that stuff. I will say I'm just a, regular everyday fashion, non-denominational Christian. I'm not a perfect one. I still got a little bit of, I still got a little bit of refining to do. But to make a long story short is that there is a book, the book of Simon, which was taken out of the King James version, where he talks about the face of Jesus shall be washed white.
Well, we also see I think also you're referring to the book of Sirach.
Okay.
And also you had the Maccabees, where you see that the Greeks were putting their images everywhere. They were even pushing pork, pushing swine, profaning the worship places. They were doing, what you want to call it. What is that term? They were doing sexual rituals. You know what I mean? All through there, they were preventing circumcision. It was a number of things that they were doing to push just what you pointed out, their image superimpose their image on the Israelites. And so you hit it right on the nail. Also, Ezekiel chapter 8 talks about that as well. And what is the other one? Genesis chapter 9. I believe when you get down to verse 24, verse 25, it's a few books. Second Thessalonians, when it says that the son of perdition was going to put his image, right? His image of and put it above the Most High. So it's a few books that you just pointed out that really touches on it. But what you're dealing with too is the Apocrypha, because the Apocrypha is not in the modern, the current version of the KJV, which the Apocrypha was there. You know what I mean? Centuries ago, the Apocrypha was included in there. Matter of fact, is like you pointed out, as far as 1611, the KJV 1611 Bible,
1611.
it was included right there. But how come we don't see those books now? Like the oldest full canonized Bible is the Ethiopian Bible, right?
Yep.
That has all of that in there. So you hit it right on the nail. You hit it right on the nail.
Hey, this is a trying time that we're in, and it is a stronghold. Like even my mom, the one that got me, I didn't have the best childhood, but I mean, I am thankful for my mom into at least introducing me to that. But even her, she has a hard time accepting this information. She's starting to come around. I'm gonna say this last year is like when I come home, she'd be like, tell me that story again, how we the real Jews. Like she talking about that. Tell me again. It's like a bedtime story for her because she older now. She like hearing it. But when I first started to bring it up to her, she used to call on the blood of Jesus and all that. And I used to rebuke all that. It was a period me and my mom had a good 3 years where we really didn't talk that much because I really started finding myself spiritually. And when I would say this stuff, she would say, oh, that's from the devil. You know, you got a devilish mind. And it's just like I had to, in my different ways, I used to show her how we fit this mold. We're the only ones that fit this mold. Who else was moved to a foreign land far away with iron crafts across their neck and their hands? You remember he said that, and you're going to watch your kids getting sold for gold and wine. You ain't going to be asleep at night thinking about where your son is at. You know, who else went through that? Who else went through that? So it's like, you only get one life. And I don't want to live this life being afraid all the time, you know, of telling people, especially my own mother, of who we are. And she's finally starting to come around with that. I just got to get her off the TV Christianity. That's one thing she hasn't been able to see yet, to where I had to tell her, your son was in Hollywood. And you have to understand anything that's on that TV, whether it's about God or anything, it comes from a certain place. You know, and I've seen these Christian networks. I used to do Christian rap. It only lasted a year. I stopped doing it because it's
I did Christian rap too.
I did Christian rap. And one thing you see from Christian rap is y'all not moving no different than secular rap. It's just you talking about Jesus. That's it, which is more of a crime. More of a crime. Remember, he said, I'd rather you choose a side than be lukewarm. I'd rather you choose a side, you know. So, yeah. And I just want to say the time that we live in is extra trying because he says it in his word. Our particular time, we got like this before, out of order, no organization and stuff like that. What he will always do when we got like this, what did he do? He'll send a prophet. All right. When he talks about our time, he's saying that the lies, first of all, is more lies than ever before. And you can see that now in our time. We could create a lie right now and start up a web page, an Instagram account, and push that lie right now.
That's,
you know, but he says
that's how
the
they
lies.
Created seminaries. That's how they created seminaries because it's like, you can have a theology that we developed, right? Theology, all that is, it just means study of God, right? So you can have a opinion of how we see the scriptures and say, let's come together and start our own school and build a curriculum around it. Now we have our own university. Now you could come and be part of our university, pay us to attend our university, and we'll put our name on you, you know, our reputation on you.
Well, the time that when he talks about in that Revelations, the time he talks about it is things are so out of order where because who was that with the dry bones? That's what that story about the dry bones.
Ezekiel chapter 37,
where he says, blow into these bones and see if they move. In this particular time, he can't send a prophet. He got to come himself this time. That's how out of order it is. And it's like just even the same what you were speaking about with seminary schools and all of that. My high school sweetheart went to seminary school. And I was in college. She went to seminary school and she told me, she said, you're not going to believe it. She said, I was in class and the teacher asked who really believes in this and who's trying to do a business. She said 85% of the class raised their hand that they were trying to do a business. They didn't actually believe in it. You see, so it's like, I mean, you got people out there teaching that Jesus was gay.
Yeah, most of my professors
married and stuff like that because he was with whoever they saying that he was with. So they make up all kind of lies and they teach it.
That's right.
They teach it. And I'm not going to say that the church is innocent too. because don't forget when this whole thing started to sprout out with the LGBTQ and all that, a lot of churches were silent because they wanted to keep that TV spot, you know. And that's what I had to show my mom. I had to show her, like, look, none of this ain't what you think it, because it don't matter how much money you make. You're supposed to be about that word first. So if the world changes, you don't change with the world. You have to stick to what the Bible says. That's what the whole point of it is. You know, Yeshua would never say, oh, all right, in this verse, I could say A, B, and C, but I know in the future they're going to censor this, so I'm not going to say it. Like, he was not thinking like that. He going to say whatever he got to say, and he says, I don't change. He don't change. Right. So, you know, we in some trying times, and let me ask you a question, because I was talking about this with some other Christians the other day. I believe, you know, before I die, I'm going to see that day of the rapture. In your opinion, do you believe everybody, all of his chosen ones, going to take in that rapture? I mean, he says, I'm going to leave one in the field, and you know, one I'm going to take with me. What do you think about that? About that verse? I got in a good conversation about that the other day.
Now, what if I told you that you already been raptured?
Talk to me. Talk to me.
If you do the etymology of the word rapture, it means rape, it means kidnap, right? That is snatch away, right? So when we look at that prophecy of Matthew's, because that's what you're referring to, Matthew's chapter 24, when the Messiah is talking to his disciples, is sharing with them about two hard periods that's going to come to Israel. The first hard period was the time of sorrows, right? And then the second hard period was the Great Tribulation. So when we look at that, right, in that text, the scripture says, those that endure to the end shall be saved. So guess what? That means that we have to live through the harshest of times. So we're not going to be raptured up per se. Now, the true rapture, if we want to look at it, go with that word, the transatlantic slave trade, look at what happened to our people. Two were in the field, one was taken, right? You know, when you start really putting the history to the prophecy. So when you think about it, we were raped as a people. We were kidnapped as a people. We were scattered to the four corners of this earth. Like you pointed out with Deuteronomy 28, when you was dealing with some of the harshness of what we were going through. So the scripture says those that endure to the end, right? So that means that we have to deal with this great tribulation. And the scriptures even says, even after the great tribulation, we're going to see a sign, you know, come from the heavens of the return of the Messiah. And he's going to dispatch his angels, right, to gather us all together. So guess what? We already been raptured as a people. We've already been raped. We already been kidnapped. We already have been branded, you know, because we couldn't buy or sell. And even today, we still struggling with buying and selling, you know, as a people, you know, because we don't own any, for the most part, major banks. You know, we don't really own any major manufacturing plants. We don't own any oil fields, right? Those are one of the things that was taken. And when we understand Black Wall Street, it was really about taking that oil, the land that our people were living on that they thought was wasteland that turned out to have oil on it, right? So what you hit on the nail, the rapture, right? That doctrine that was, when we look at that term, that theology was actually created back in the late 19th century, right? But if we want to look at it from the word itself, that word rapture, as a people, we have been, we could say we're children of prisoners of war. We're the children of the raptured, because as a people, we've been kidnapped. We've been taken advantage by pretty much every nation around this world.
Hey, I can't wait to have you on my channel, man, because you just taught me something right there. And yeah, I got to have you on my channel, you know, so you could also talk about this to my subs too, because I mean, you just taught me something right there. Like I said, especially the older folks in our demographics, it's a bind on them. I have a you know, how can I say this? A strict aunt that's still Pentecostal that don't like hearing that we are those folks. Like, I don't know if you know this, but Time Magazine had a picture of Black Jesus. I believe it was the 60s or 70s. Do you know the story? Guess who asked them to take that picture down and to stop selling that magazine?
Who was that?
We asked them because they said,
right.
Y'all trying to put a curse on us. It's so harsh to where we can't believe that we come from that. And remember, he said, I'm going to strip your name away to where you hear Jerusalem and you ain't even going to think that you connect to it at all. All right. So it's like when they had that picture of Black Jesus on Time Magazine, we reached out to them and said, take it down. They're trying to curse us as a group of people, not knowing that was even them. Because don't forget, they got to put some of the truth out there. They got to put some of the truth out there. And they got so much of a bind on us that they put that out there. And we as a people said, take it down. They cursing us. But my aunt is one of those people that's really struck in that. And when I started talking to my mom about this, you know, they started saying, oh, I love my son, but he from the devil. And it's like, well, how is he from the devil? Well, he talking about who we are, the people. He trying to say that we them. And it's like, the thing about it is, and it's no offense to my parents, because they put me on it, it's my aunt, but I got better at knowing the word than them. You know, so when they try to come at me about what they pastor said, and this, that, and the fourth, it's like, well, I got the knowledge myself. And one thing I used to do to my mom and my aunt, they listen to me now. They like listening to it like it's a bedtime story because they're older now. So it's like when I come home, they're like, tell it to me again. And they fall asleep in the middle of the story. You know what I mean? But I told my aunt one time, and started telling her, she started talking about, started speaking in tongues, and God bless my nephew. And it's like, all right, let me show you something. I told my aunt one time, I said, let me show you something, because you ain't got to listen to me. And I don't care if your pastor teaching it, but will you listen to the word if it's in there? Well, show it to me. I made her pull out the word, and she opened it up. And I'm pouring into that verse where it says, this is us. It says, since you just Deuteronomy, when he says, since you didn't listen to me, I'm going to have another group of people come snatch you away as fast as an eagle. And before I can even say something, I said, look, auntie, you see this right here? I'm going to take you to a faraway land. They're going to snatch you away as fast as an eagle. Before I even say something, she said, well, America's mascot is the eagle. You know what I mean? Like, she did her glasses like this. Like, okay, you might be on to something, nephew. You know what I mean? So it's like, I slowly but surely, talking to my mom and my aunt, starting to turn them. But it's still a lot of us out there that are afraid to talk like this. And I'm not going to say Kanye West is the biggest spokesperson from this or whatever, but I appreciate him at least bringing it out, because you need people like that to bring it out, for people to actually start putting some consideration into it. And it's sad, but that's how it was written. The last days was going to be. That's how it was written. So it's like, we got to go through this, you know, and all this stuff that we going through with the LGBTQ, having all this power, saying who can perform and who can't perform. We got to go through this, you know, and I'm not going to be one of those people. I fight it every day because you're supposed to be welcome in this. Because remember, he said, if you're not happy for this stuff to happen and my return is near, you know what I mean? You're going to be done just like the other folks. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So when I see some of this stuff, and I know some hard days are coming very soon, you know, I have a live stream on there where I start talking about the EMPs, because there's Bible verses where he started talking about the blackening of the moon and darkness, you know, and I can see, because it says that those times are going to be the harshest times in all of humanity. And I can really see it happen like that, because we used to what? All this technology and all this. When they take all of this away, most of us don't know how to live without it.
That's right.
We don't know how to live without it. It's going to be a lot of murder.
Hey, I'm going to have to put my my Pentecostal voice in here. You know how they say when you're talking good, they be like, you're talking good now, preacher. You're talking good.
Yeah, we having some church tonight. We having some church tonight.
Man, this is a true blessing, and you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, we're gonna do more of this right here. But man, you dropping some jewels there, and even with what you shared about the responses that you've gotten, man, that's the same thing right across the board. Everyone that's watching here, that's been waking up to who they are and sharing it with their loved ones. Most of us have gotten the negative response, you know what I mean, from our own people not necessarily from those that are opposite of us, that are different ethnic groups, but the harshest critics is coming from within. You know, unfortunately, did you ever hear of you heard of Claude Anderson, right?
Yes, I've heard of him.
Man, he got a message called what is it? I can't think of the name of it. But he got a message where he talks about contradictory behavior, and he really walks through the history of how we, as a people, always undermine ourselves. You know, and I mean, just the way he paints the picture, and he really talked about the different uprisings and how each uprising was undone by one of us.
Yeah. I mean, look at Christ, the disciples. Look at Peter. You know, so it's like when you see, I see us as a group of people. When you read the story of Yahshua, that's us, man.
That's right.
You know, that's us. Even the way those people acted there, you can see that that's us. And then when somebody of us rise out of that, how the rest of us come and try to snatch him down, like that's us. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, I'm not afraid. And the funny thing about it is when you come at white people with this knowledge, they get afraid of you. I'm never going to forget this moment, probably about 8 years ago when I was on a plane. This is when I first started getting the knowledge, because don't forget, I was raised into that white Jesus Kojic stuff. So when I first started getting the knowledge and accepting it, because when it first hit me, even as a kid, I didn't accept it. It's like, I was like, what was taught to me? Like, no, that's not the truth. I'm just a measly black person. I'm not those white people, they Israel. But then as I started getting more the story, more of the knowledge, it started hitting me. And it started making sense. Okay, this is why these people treat me a certain type of way. I'm never going to forget this time where I was on a plane and I sat right next to this white pastor, and he started talking to me. He was like, you know, the spirit is telling me to talk to you. I don't know why. You know, he came in a conversation like that. And he was like, you know, are you Christian, man? And I was like, yeah, I was raised up in, you know, in that society. Yeah, I come from Pentecostal. And that's why God told me to talk to you. The Spirit told me to talk to you. He didn't know what he was in for. So me and this guy during this flight, we got in this conversation and stuff like that. And he was like, you know, what kind of work are you doing in the church? And, you know, and I told him, I said, you know, I'm looking for a church right now. And he was like, well, we're going to pray to God that you find a church and all that. And I was like, I mean, we can pray, but I told him, I was like, you know, God got a special plan for me. This is when when you first find out some new information, you get real hype. This is when I was real hype about it, you know? So he was like, well, let me ask you this. Why the last church ain't work for you? And I was like, they don't really go off the word. And most of these churches now don't go off the word. And he said, what do you mean? And I told him, I said, well, Yahshua, not Jesus, because you know I know you know. But I don't know that was never his name. You know what I mean? And I said, Yahshua, you know, a lot of people don't respect Yahshua. And he said, what do you mean? I said, I go into these churches and I see pictures of white Jesus and I automatically leave because it's demonic, you know. And he went into this whole tirade once again. And I'm not saying speaking in tongues is bad, but he started speaking in tongues and he was like, you know what? I'm going to pray for you because this is what I'm going to tell you. You know, people may try to use this to divide us. Yeah, saying Jesus is black, saying Yahshua is black is a divide. It's you dividing. You see what I'm saying? You're dividing. But he said, oh, the devil got all these tricks to divide us. Oh, the devil got all these tricks to divide us. But you know what God is looking for? God is looking for a group of people that don't care about his skin color, that's going to be there and that's going to accept him from any color what they is, you know. And I'm going to pray for you and this young man that you're willing to accept God no matter how he look. Lord, get the devil hands off these kids. And I said, yo, you did that prayer for you. That prayer was not for me. Because you're saying that Yahshua wrote in his Bible that he had color for no reason.
Wow. Hey, let me get a 3-piece in here. Can I get a 3-piece in here real quick? Let me get a 3-piece in here. Let me toss it out. Let me throw it out.
Hey, you know what? My mom asked me to tell her that story. When she first heard it, she didn't like it, but now she like hearing that story now. You know what I mean? Because I was unapologetic about it, and if it's in the word, it's in the word. You know, and even to this day, I see that white Jesus is demonic because he put it in the word. That ain't what he looked like. So you willing? First of all, he put it in there. You ain't supposed to draw a picture of him. Have a picture up of him. But if you're gonna have a picture like that, and he looks white, you're openly defying the word. You can do that. But you're not going to tell me that's the word, and you're not going to be make me afraid and try to shut me up by saying, devil, get your hands off of him. Because that ain't the devil. Me speaking the word, that ain't the devil. All right? And me talking about that Yahshua is black, me talking about that, that's supposed to be demonic. All right? So they can't fool me with that no more. Can't fool me with that no more. They did when I was a child. But hey, you know, when we was a child, what the Bible say? When you were a child, you on milk. You know what I mean? When you become a man, you start to be on meat. I'm on meat now. You know, so yeah, and I'm not afraid. I don't go into these Hollywood rooms talking like that because that's a good way for them to shut the door on you forever. You know what I mean? And that day probably is coming for me. They know how dangerous I am as far as with knowledge and stuff. It might already be here. I just don't know it. You know what I mean? It might already be here. And if it is, God, you know, God willing, you know what I mean? Because one thing about the devil in Hollywood, even they not powerful enough to be able to shut up God and who he wants to have a voice. Even they can't do that.
That's right.
So, you know, like I said, I'm very thankful that my mom introduced me. I don't worship the Lord like how she does, you know, but I'm thankful that she introduced me to it.
Man, powerful, man. Powerful. Man, and I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you got things you have to do, but I really appreciate this this discussion. And I know I have to ask you another question.
Go ahead.
Before we wrap up, how did you get your hairstyle like that? I know you get asked that all the time. How did you get it to? How did you get it?
It's 5 years. I'll take. It's 5 years. I've been growing it like this, and you know what? I had the small Caesar. You know, like yours. I had that for many years, and I got bored with it. So here in LA, I just got a cut today from the barber that did it for me. I just sat in his chair one day and I was like, I'm tired of the Caesar. And he was like, you know what? Just let it grow and let it do whatever it do. So I just started letting it grow. I twisted it a little bit myself. I never went and got it braided up or anything. And as it grew, it started to lock up. And the middle part, this part right here, started to grow up. Now it went through many transformations. It's heavy now. So now it leans. But before it got heavy, it was like it was growing up like that, like a tree. Then it started getting heavy. Then it started going. You know what I mean? So it did it on its own. I have these because, like, you know, it could get like kind of out of order. So to keep it together, you know, I placed those on it. But thank you for bringing up that question because, you know, those if you read the word, those people back in those days. Those Jews' hair grew like this. You know what I mean? This is how their hair grew. And when I see these Orthodox folks, I kind of look at them and they kind of look at me the same way. Like, you know, I've got a lot of hatred for them because they even know on what they reading, this is what their hair is supposed to do. You know what I mean? I don't know what all these little pony pigtails that they got going down, but that's not, their hair wasn't like that in the word. Their hair was like this and it's like wool. So to answer it as short as possible, I just let it grow and I let my hair have its own personality. Sometimes the personality kind of got out of order and I will put some kind of order to it. Like, all right, you get all over the place. Let me bunch you up together. You know what I mean? Make you as presentable as possible. But, you know, I let my hair grow how it is. And this is what we have. I'm never going to cut my hair, especially how I saw how pale folks respond to my hair. I was like, oh, no, I ain't gonna never have no short hair, ever. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going back to short hair. And some opportunities I probably won't ever get because my hair is like this. They passed a law, you know, where we couldn't get jobs with our hair like this. And nobody batted an eye. You know, they had a law like that. So, you know, my mom had problems with it for a while, but I had to tell her, I'm like, I'm doing this because y'all couldn't do this. They made y'all, I don't know, CJ Madam Walker, them all like flat iron in their hair. You know, your hair gotta be straight, but this is beautiful on a man or on a woman. Our hair like this is beautiful, and they use so many different tactics and maneuvers for us to not have our hair like this. And there's nothing wrong with our hair like this, you know. And I can feel energy. I walk in a room. Like, look, I checked out of an Airbnb last night because I only had one for one day before I checked in this hotel. I got out before it even ended because I felt the energy in there, and it's like, you know what? I'm being watched. I got some friends here. I might as well just go to one of my friends' house and then leave from there and go check into this hotel, because that Airbnb that I was at, I felt the energy. It's like, I don't see no cameras in here, but I know y'all watching me, and we're not about to do that. We're not about to do that.
Wow. Well, you hit it on the nail. I mean, even with the scriptures, Ezekiel had locks, Samson had locks, Numbers chapter 6, every person that took that Nazareth vow had locks. You know, the Messiah, you know, I believe because of him never cutting his hair, had locks. Like you said, it was very common among our community having locks. And it was interesting. Someone tagged me into a video last week about how a Caucasian woman, she was homeless, she lost everything, and how one of the families took her in and they took her to the barbershop and they began to take care of her hair. And she had a dog that was with her. And right, what's interesting is the dog hair was matted and her hair was matted just like the dog. Right? Once they trimmed the dog's hair off, you know, it was matted, but it wasn't locked. You know, same thing with hers. Her hair was matted because she never combed her hair. So it matted, but it never locked like how our hair locks. But their hair mats just like because of the texture is going to match similar to, and this is not trying to offend anyone, similar to how, you know, a dog hair would mat, you know, and it was pretty interesting to see that. But yeah, all through the scriptures, we see locks all through there. We see, what's his name? Solomon. King Solomon had locks, you know, so it's all through the scriptures. And even I'm trying to think of the melanated, the black Jews that that's over in Israel. They have they have locks, but they also have two special locks that come down on the side. That's where this particular group is where the Jewish community got that from. Okay. You know what I mean? There's the curls, but the original people, they were locks.
Well, I'll tell you this. Since my hair has grown like this, the group of people I've had the most problem with is white men. You know, and some white women, but there's also a group of white women that really like this and like really want a piece of it, if you get what I'm saying. But like when my hair first started grew like this, I had the most problems from white men. Like, I mean, I can get in a conversation with somebody outside of my race, and white men would come across from the room and invoke themselves in the conversation. It was even to the point where it was sometimes I would have to say, excuse me, sir, I know her. And we trying to figure out, you know what I mean? Like what you do with conversation, and then they get mad, turn red, and walk away like demons. And like, I mean, I had a situation in the gym a couple of weeks ago where there was a white dude who had locked hair that was just acting kind of weird around me. You know what I mean? They're very how can I say this? They're very intimidated by this. And I get it because their parents made a law to where they didn't have to compete with this. So they see something like this, and it's like, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. They'll come with you, start talking certain type of stuff, and they actually make up accounts on my page where they're looking like black people, and you could tell they're not black because how they talk about my hair. And it's like, you know, no black person would say that. You know what I mean? Like, so they try to identify as us through a YouTube avatar, but they start talking and be like, all right, you're a white man. You're not you're not black. But once again, I thank the Most High, and look, thank you for giving me this platform to speak about this. Because on my page, I do talk about Christ here and there, as you know, but I'm not able to talk about it like this on your page, because that's not the theme of my page. But do I enjoy talking like this? I enjoy talking like this, and I want to do the same thing with you. I want you to come on my page, and I want you to edify my subscribers, because even on this stream, I've learned some stuff from you. And I appreciate your platform, and you talk about a lot of things that can help our community, but you're more knowledgeable about it than I must admit that even I am. It's still stuff I'm picking up from, as far as who we are as a people. And I'm still configuring myself when I come and I read these stories, that it's not the color and the group of people who they're trying to push us to believe it is. It's us. You know what I mean? I think Samson is one of the clear ones. That's one of the clear ones, the story of Samson. But, it's a lot of stories out there where they try to invoke that's who they are. And I don't have no problem with those folks. I just believe that it's us,
Well, I definitely appreciate it, Moxy. And, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And definitely would be honored to be, to do this on your channel, which, you just let me know. We'll make it happen, and definitely want to get you back on. And everyone that's watching, subscribe to Moxy's channel. Moxy, just go ahead and tell them about your channel, how to reach it, and so forth. Go ahead, share it with the people so we can get those subscribers up as well.
I appreciate it. It's Moxy approved. One of my taglines. I'm not gonna refer it to Rich and We Woke Now, but one of my taglines is your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber. If y'all just type up youtube.com/c/Moxy approved, you'll find my page. Now, y'all sanctified Christians, I'm gonna tell you right now, I do use cuss words here and there. I try not to go overboard with it, but I do. I'm gonna say my page is PG-13. It ain't gonna never be fully rated R. I'm gonna say it's PG-13. As my mom say, boy, you out there cussing like a sailor. I might have one or two videos like that. But I still try to keep it as righteous as possible. I talk about a lot. I'm not a celebrity gossiper. If you do see me covering celebrity pages, I always try to put a gem out there, because all of us are familiar with these celebrities to a degree. So I try to use some of the stuff they putting out there. I try to use it as a lesson to be learned. Just like how you saw with the video about the transgender, there was a lesson to be learned in that. And I try to teach the stuff that's not being taught in class. God blessed me to have a specific life. Like, I never expected that I would be in Hollywood working as an STD counselor. So I feel like it's part of my duty to talk about some of the experiences I've had. I do talk about some of my Hollywood experiences and some of the stuff that I have saw. And I feel like you'll be rather shocked at some of the stuff you can learn from my page. And I don't base it off of comedy, but of course I'm gonna crack a joke, just like in this stream. This is a very serious stream, but we have fun laughing and cracking some jokes. And I'm gonna say this particular stream is a little bit more spiritual, which I like. Is a little bit more spiritual than the stuff I talk about on my channel, but it's pretty much relatable in this box. And once again, I appreciate you, Rich, and I appreciate you bringing me on here. And I don't talk like this all the time on my channel, so every time that I'm able to talk like this, I appreciate it a lot. And yeah, this Absolutely. Is just the tip of the iceberg between me and you. I expect to have many back and forths like this with you on my channel and on your channel. We got to have you on my channel next, because I definitely and I already know what the topic is going to be that I want you on there. The last days, which we in right now.
Absolutely. Well, definitely appreciate you, Moxy. And once we wrap up, if you could stay on, and we'll wrap up offline. But I'm just going to wrap it up right now. Want to just say to everyone, appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. And you know how we do. And matter of fact, Moxie, if you have someone, we have what is called the garbage can, the bucket list, right? That's if we wanted anyone that's kicking any type of nonsense, we just add them to the bucket list, and I have an animation for that. So for me, it's all those that continue to push the narrative of a white Jesus per se that are doing more damage to our community than hurting them. So I'm going to add them to the bucket list. Here's the garbage can right now.
That's pretty dope, man. You got them inserts. You're going to make me have to step it up on my channel.
So if there's anyone you want to add to that garbage can, just tell me and I'll just give them the garbage can.
Right now?
Yeah.
All right, let me see. What can we add to that bucket list? You know what? Let's add the gangster rappers to that bucket list.
Yeah,
Let's add the gangster rappers to that bucket list. Rest in peace, Young Dolph. Rest in
All
peace.
right. We'll add them to the bucket list.
That was pretty good. I like that.
If anyone else, or that's it.
I mean, if you want me to be real, like, man, I could go, hey, all right. White women school teachers. add them to the bucket list.
All right, add them to the bucket list because some of them cutting out our kids' hair and everything.
Cutting our kids' hair, teaching them the wrong thing. Now they acting like because they're not preaching Christopher Columbus discovered America that they woke now. Yeah, and they teaching most of our kids. Mothers
of the Confederate, the daughters of the Confederate is what caused a lot of the. Yeah, here we go. We're gonna add them.
Joe Biden. Add Joe Biden to the bucket list.
Oh man, now you're rolling now. There we go.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it there. I can keep going. I gotta.
Well, family, appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. And as we always conclude every session with a word of encouragement, as Moses said to the children of Israel as they were coming out of Egypt in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 and 14, he said, "Fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of Yahweh." These Egyptians that you see here today. So no matter what strongholds it is, the Most High said it will not have power over you ever again. Amen. The Most High will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. And in that text, you'll see the Hebrew word charash, which means be quiet. Sometimes we have to learn how to be quiet and let the Most High do what he do. Because sometimes we can get in the way or in front of things that we should not be in front of. So again, fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of the Most High. These Egyptians that you see today will never have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you, but you have to hold your peace. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward.